Alright boys, Semphis here. I want to make a quick video about my thoughts on Zeus and how people really don't give him enough credit. So if you've been playing since 1.6 or you go look back in history, you'll kind of notice one trend is that Zeus always seems to be playing with one of the top 2 or 3 AWPers of the current meta. Whether this is a coincidence or partly due to him, is I guess up for debate. I mean, it would probably depend on the person. I personally think that it's a combination of both. If you look back into 1.6, Markov was by far the best AWPer for Navi's reign. And at the end, you know, before Go came out, they're pretty much, you know, one of the best teams in the world. They had 1 or 2 years where they pretty much dominated. Everyone in Markov was always there. You know, him and Edward were by far the best players on the team, and Markov was pretty much like 1 tier above every other AWPer. He's kind of no one is like Simple, but he was basically like that kind of consistency level for 1.6. Now you move over to CSGO, and at the start, obviously, like, you know, Zeus wasn't very good. He kind of had a late start. Same with some of the Virtus Pro guys. They didn't switch over right away. This is where he finally got Guardian. Now, Guardian came from Source, and he was already a very good AWPer. And he was a very good AWPer at the start of CSGO as well. So it wasn't like Zeus got these AWPers and they were like mediocre AWPers, and then like he transformed them into like superstars. What I think that Zeus does better than other in-game leaders is he has a playstyle that is essentially revolved around the AWP. And now a lot of people probably think that he plays very slow and very basic, and it's true, he does. If you look at the lineup with Simple and with Guardian, the 2 trends they both have is they both run the clock down on T side. It's almost always, you know, 15 seconds hitting sights, 30 seconds. It's almost like the round is being determined by if they can plant the bomb or not. What does this do? What is the benefit of this? As an AWPer, you are getting as much time as possible for people to make mistakes and try to clear a spot that you might be holding. It lets you take your time. So for just an example would be Train, you could go clear Ivy, push that guy back, potentially get a pick, fall back, maybe look for a pick in team mid, then go, and your end goal is you're gonna throw some nades, they'll hit inner, and you're gonna be left for a post plant, probably back a pop, somewhere around there. Your rifler is gonna be scaling up. So all this is relatively low risk for the AWPer because he's not really like, he's not doing stuff that like someone like Henny would do where they just run out team mid and like look for a kill every round, and they just kind of go in YOLO like crazy. There's always like a plan, and it's always methodical, and they always have rifles supporting them, and the round is always based around the AWP getting a pick. Now, that is pretty much the best way to play around the AWPer if he's your best player. If you look at an AWPer like Skadoodle, Skadoodle's probably the best example. Is like he's very skilled, but he's not initiating any contact on the map. He's kind of holding pushes. You know, he might go clear at Ivy on Train or something, but then he's kind of sitting around team mid, kind of holding that push, holding the Ivy push. Then, you know, the rest of the C9 players would be clearing box hall, then they would come back, and then they would do a big execute. On the big execute, he'd be throwing a smoke, and then he'd be throwing 2 well-timed flashes. He's basically becoming a utility AWPer. These are things that Guardian, Markov, and Simple aren't really doing. Not that they never have to throw grenades, but they're never usually the one that's being like the support player. They're being set up to get the kills. So with someone like Skadoodle, he'll often be left in post plants, but he's not being given a lot of chances to just walk into sites and to get picks. Now, taking the AWP away from these players and just turning them into riflers is another aspect that a lot of people miss. Is I'll just use CSGO because I don't think a lot of people remember enough about 1.6. So in CSGO, if you look back at Navi's prime with Guardian, and when Guardian himself was his best statistical player, what are the trends that you notice? He's being dropped AKs. He's being given deagles. He's getting the half armor on 4-spot or on eco rounds. His teammates are saving for him to get op. When he has a rifle, he's entry fragging. You might not think of Guardian as an elite level rifler, but if you go look at when he was at his best, he would just be like walking out monster on overpass first with the AK, looking for entries, getting a thing. Simple is the same way, but more enhanced version of this. Obviously, no one is doubting that Simple is the better player. Op for op, you could make a case that Guardian is equal, but every other gun, Simple is superior at, right? So the difference between Simple and Guardian and Markloff or whatever would be that Simple will just throw his op away a lot more than other oppers, or pretty much any other opper in CSGO. Is he will oh shit, you know, Mirage upper B, you know, his teammates both got picked. Instead of just sitting upper B holding the window peek with an op, he'll go get one of his dead teammates' AKs, jump out, get a 3K clutch. Yeah, he's an anomaly. You know what I mean? Like, any player would be lucky to have him. That's not Zeus, that is just Simple being insane. However, on a round where like they're force buying, you know, Zeus, I mean, we would hope so, would give him an AK, or sometimes you'll see him with a deagle or something, and then people will be on, you know, why does Zeus have an AK and not Simple? Dude, honestly, I played with a lot of these guys before, and a lot of people, they just have egos. They'll be like, no, I'm gonna 1D this guy. Like, they will tell you that they rather go peek window on Mirage with a deagle than an AK. There's good players that do that, and it's like, what are you gonna do? No, you have to take the, like, sometimes you just let players that are that good do their thing, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it might not be like the technical smartest, and you could blame the caller or the coach or whatever, but a lot of these players, especially in games where they're like 18-4, which is like not uncommon for Simple, you know, he's feeling it. You kind of let him do what he wants, you know? If Simple asked for an AK and Zeus wouldn't give it to him, then that, you know, then you could definitely talk shit about it. But so you'll have these things where, like, you know, he'll be dropped an AK, but they're not in the op role anymore when they have the AK. Guardian and Simple, they're no longer doing like normal op things where they're just kind of just holding and then like throwing nades. They turn into like an entry rifler. They start being a star rifler. And that's the difference between someone like Simple and Skadoodle. Well, obviously no one's gonna doubt that, you know, Simple's a better player overall. I'm just saying, it's like everything Zeus does is kind of like, it's just like boosting the opper. No matter whether he have a rifle in his hand, a deagle in his hand, an op in his hand, Zeus is always calling around the opper being his best player. This only works if you have really good oppers. If your opper was a shit player, you'd be better off, or let's say we remove Simple, he gets bought out by MIBR, and we put in who's like a pretty good opper but not like insane. We put in you know, you put in a player just like Dennis from NIP or someone, you know, it's like a solid player, not insane, you know, whatever. You know, when he's playing well, he's like pretty good, but you know, he's not like a star level opper, right? He's just kind of like almost like a hybrid. So you put him in the lineup. At this point, you're gonna revolve your game around Electronic and Flamey probably, right? So now Electronic is your star player. Just like when Navi had the lineup of Guardian, it was almost like Guardian was their best player. He's the one that was being fed everything. And then Seized was kind of like the second player. He's like the lurker, but he's kind of set up. And since they played so slowly, he got a lot of pretty good positions to flank. And that's probably when he was at his best. A lot of people thought Seized was like a really top player, but then after Zeus left, you know, everything kind of crumbled down. Now, when Zeus went towards the Gambit lineup, that's the one lineup you could make a case for, okay, he doesn't have the best opper. He had Mo, but like, Mo is good, but you can go look, they didn't revolve the game around him. So, but they did play really slow, and they still let him pick. And, you know, he played really good. Like, he was really going that line. However, Adren was like at his peak form at that time, and Hobbit was like peaking as well. So those rifles kind of like balanced out the fact that Mo wasn't fragging quite as hard as someone like Simple or Guardian would. But they still kind of had that same slow, methodical style where like you kind of exit with 15 or 30 seconds. And this is the style that lets AWPers thrive. If you are doing a rush, if you're rushing a bomb site, this is not good for an AWPer. If you win the round, the riflers kill them all. And if you die, they're not really left in good positions. There's still smokes. The other team has a billion flashes and Molotovs that they're going to put him out. Yeah, he gets some exits or whatever, but like he's not really in a favorable spot to like have an impact on the round. Maybe a map like Dust 2 they could pick someone crossing, but that's not consistent, you know. So when you rush something, generally that doesn't favor an AWPer. You could do like the rushes that are favored with a good AWPer spawn. So like on Train, for example, if you have the best spawn, you could go for the team mid pick with a flash. If you get the pick, everyone rushes out ladder because no one can get ladder, or the AWPer would be able to tell the players and they could run out. That's not like a bad thing to call. And I'm not saying never to call it, but I'm just saying like a player like Zeus isn't really calling that kind of style. He's always making sure his AWPer is set up. So when you have someone as good as Simple, just literally the best player, also the best AWPer and the best rifler, and you're setting him up with the perfect game plan, in my opinion, for an AWPer to thrive, your AWPer is going to be the best he can be. And I think a lot of that is contributed to Zeus. Whether you want to say he lacks fragging power himself, that's one thing. But, or you want to say his strats are bad. I don't think his strats are bad. His strats are based around the fact that he has the players to pull it off. If you gave Zeus a worse lineup, you would want to probably cut him, honestly. He would not do well on like a mediocre North American team. He would be like, guys, it's 15 seconds, no one's got any kills, my AWPer is dead. Like, it probably wouldn't work. He would probably be a hindrance. But I think at this top level, when he has so many experienced good players, he's a great player. Like, I think there are some players that only play well with other really good players. It's almost like you look at Kerrigan. He went to Envy. He played his worst Counter-Strike of his life. The team did okay. He did make them better, in my opinion. There's no doubt that he is a better caller than I am. So, you know, he did a good job. He played the worst Counter-Strike of his life. The team, like, they didn't really do well. They did, like, okay. They still lost, right? He went back. He goes to Mouse Sports, and now he's playing pretty well. Statistically, you know, he's had some pretty big games. He's been top fragging, and that's another one of those things where it's like he has a team that trusts him. They're very skilled, and he doesn't have to play some of the... He has a little bit more freedom to get away with things when your players are better. And if any of you guys are ever on a lower tier team and you ever get a chance to play with much better players, you'll see what I mean. It's a night and day difference. You yourself will just magically become better because your other teammates are better. It's the truth of the matter. And there's certain players that are going to thrive no matter what, like Simple, but for most people, your performance is going to be based off of the teammates that you're playing with. So, you know, if your team loses 16-3, it doesn't really matter how good you are. You need to be losing at least 16-12 to be showcasing some sort of talent, or else you're just saving and getting crushed the whole game. There's not really much you can do, right? So those are just my thoughts on Zeus and kind of like how he utilizes his AWPers and the different styles. And like, I don't think it would work for every lineup or every player, but since he's always had the luxury of having a Markeloff, a Simple, a Guardian, and those three players have all had statistically the best periods of their life playing with him, I don't think that's a coincidence. But, you know, we'll see, because eventually he's going to retire, and eventually Simple's going to join a new team or be on a team with a different leader when he retires, because I don't think Zeus has said he wants to continue playing. However, winning fixes everything, you know. If he continuously is being a top 3 team, he's gonna keep playing. I don't care what anyone says. You're not just gonna randomly quit unless you're tired of traveling, which is not a. I can understand that. But anyways, the next video I'm probably gonna make is just kind of showcasing the difference between the 2 play styles. So I was gonna make a video with Simple, and then I was gonna show one with Guardian. So tell me what you guys think, because right now Guardian is kind of being like a support player on phase with Nico calling, just the way he's calling. You can kind of see it. So yeah, tell me what you guys think. If you liked the video, whatever, downvote it. I don't really give a shit. All right, peace.